What's up, Tiger fans? It is the Morgan Thomas Show, Thursday night, and you know what that means. Another The Morgan Thomas Show. I think I put down episode 146, 145. I really don't think that's accurate considering I really didn't count all the episodes that I did over on the radio. So we did more than that, but as you know, I did the loser support group. Was it Monday night? And I mentioned that we would be starting back over on YouTube. I said this on the radio. Women's basketball, men's basketball is back. It's November, so it's college basketball season, and a lot of the games are played on Thursday nights. So then that's obviously going to be played on the radio, and instead we'll be over on YouTube. So you'll get a big dose of the Morgan Thomas Show live here on YouTube. And as you know, the Morgan Thomas Show would not be complete without my lovely co-host, Mr. Houston Burnett. Tonight, Big Al is not with us. Mr. Houston Burnett, welcome in.
Yes, sir. Glad to be on the live show on Thursday nights. I know we've been trying to create some content we've just both been busy. So, just glad to be seen, I guess, this week.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been quite some time since we've been on the interwebs. We did do some videos. I promise. I just never loaded them up. I apologize, Houston. All that hard work. I just haven't.
Down the toilet.
But that's okay. That's okay, because we'll talk about, anything and everything Clemson tonight. If you're not familiar with how we kind of run the show, basically it's the Morgan Thomas Show, but it's really the show that you are also involved as well. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or emotional outbursts, please get in over on the chat. First off, we ask you that you say hello and tell us where you're from so we can give you and your town a shout out tonight on the show. And then also after that, get in your questions because Houston and I will go through them. And we really didn't, plan out much. Back when I started Houston, I literally did shows where I had word for word what I wanted to say. I had every single topic and I wrote it out, and I was nervous, and I wanted to make sure I was perfect. Not so much anymore. Now we just kind of wing it.
Yeah. I mean, you get late in November, you kind of only got a few things that really need to be talked about. You're the end of football, into soccer, basketball is just getting started. So
I thought you were about to say late November, you're just going to wing it like the Clemson coaches at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Potential. We had some potential there.
Oh, man. That could have been a good joke, but you missed it.
Yeah. I try not to be try not to open with that. Let's lead them in softly.
Well, as you know, like I said, we want to get in and get people in. We have about 22 people now online and hope to have more. The easiest way to get more people in during the show is to hit the like button first. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, hit the like button and then share with a friend. I always say, be a friend, tell a friend, and share. So hit the share button. But let's get in and get some shout outs out the way. I don't know if there's something going on with Facebook or what, because I literally don't see any chat from Facebook at all. I see literally everything from, I just realized I said literally 4 times, but I see every comment from YouTube. I don't see any comments from Facebook. So if you're over on Facebook, give us a shout, say hello. But let's get in with the pleasantries here. Taco Gaming 75, welcome in. Tyson Ferguson, welcome. John Sarian, always. He's been watching the show for quite some time. Kevron, the greatest fan of all. Kevron, always true to the show. TB, that's interesting. How did you get the name TB? Man, it must have been like the first Google user there. Let's see. Tyson, we got Edward. Edward gets in. Welcome in. Like I said, I see a ton of people on YouTube. I don't see a lot of people over on on Facebook getting in the chat. So where y'all at? Where y'all at on Facebook? Maybe now that I think of it, let's not just assume it's working. Let's go over there and check it out. Let's see. Did you forget how to do the Facebook feed? It's not showing up right now. Huh.
Yeah, there might be a private message that states that in your private messages for the show. I don't know though. Like,
what did you say? Posted a YouTube link? No, I know. I posted my link. I know I did that. I do that from time to time. But yeah, the video is in there. Well, you know what? Happening now. You know what's weird is it posted it as an event. That's weird. It posted it. It didn't post it as a video. It shared it as an event, not a video, not like a live stream. So we don't have a live stream on YouTube. That's where we're on Facebook. That's weird. Oh well, you know what? Things will go wrong, and we'll just keep rolling along. How you feel? You okay with that?
No, that's fine with me.
If you guys are okay with it, we're okay with it. We're going to keep rolling. Let me let's get in the chat. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? We're going to make this about you. We're going to let you lead the show. Obviously, there's a lot going on with Clemson football. There's Clemson basketball now we can talk about. I saw some Clemson NFL news, some Clemson soccer as well. Houston, start us off with some soccer because I feel like they don't get a lot of airtime, and because football this, football that. But give us a little update on the soccer team.
Well, with the soccer team, they won last night in Wake Forest. So right now it's the ACC tournament, and the way that it's structured is everything but the championship game is at home sites for each of the teams. So Clemson got the first round at home, and then it's had to go on the road the last two rounds. So they knocked off Notre Dame at home in the first round. They went and beat previously undefeated Duke in Durham in the second round, and then last night they knocked off the 4-seed Wake Forest 2-0 in Winston-Salem to punch their ticket to the ACC title game. And so it's interesting because Wake Forest beat Clemson 6-1. That's really bad. They came to Clemson and beat Wake Forest beat Clemson 6-1 earlier in the year, and then last night Clemson went up to Winston-Salem, shut them out 2-0, and held them without a single shot on goal for the entire game. That's a pretty impressive run for what Mike Noonan's able to do. Sky's the limit with this team. They seem to know how to pull it together at the end of the season. This is how it happened last year, where they went on that run in the NCAA tournament. So who knows? I know that they've had a ton of injuries, a ton of COVID, all that kind of stuff they've had to kind of work through. So if they can stay healthy, sky's the limit for this team. The ACC is the toughest conference in college soccer. And so if they're able to pull out a championship win, the ACC title game on Sunday afternoon, they might be able to, use that momentum going forward.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Clemson Syracuse advance to the championship game. And when is that going to be?
Sunday at noon.
Sunday at noon. Gotcha. November 13th. Sunday at noon. Number 2 Syracuse versus number 8 Clemson on ESPNU at the Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. You ever been to Cary, Houston?
I have some friends up in Cary that we go see. We before COVID and before we had our kids, we would go to NC State all the time when Clemson was playing up there. I wanted to go to the national championship game, but it's too far of a drive to justify going up there when you got kids. But eventually I'd love to go catch a soccer game, especially if it's a Final Four national title game for Clemson.
Second seeded Syracuse advanced to its first ACC title game since winning in 2015, downing Virginia 5-3 in a penalty kick shootout. See, this is my thing about, and I played 1 year of soccer at Anderson and I played soccer at Westside. I don't really like to watch soccer. I love playing it. But, and it's been a while since I've been able to play it because I tore my ACL twice. But I do feel like it's the penalty kick shootout thing is it's so different than the actual game that I've never really liked it, even when I played. I mean, it's just, to me, it's like it takes away from the battle that you did, and ends up being, I would say, a ton of skill, but a little, a good amount of luck too, in the penalty kicks.
Well, the way that it's structured in college soccer, though, is unless there's something absolutely necessary for PKs, you don't really see that. It's the same with MLS and really any other league. Like, you're not going to see PKs to determine a game unless there is either tournament.
But I feel like
And
last year didn't Clemson have to deal with a couple and they lost, or
no, they
not
had to
not
deal.
last year maybe, but
The times that you think about PKs are most notable is in the tournament because they have to do that. You're going to play a full 90 minutes, then you're going to play a full 30 minutes of overtime. So they have to do something in order to determine the game at that point. I mean, if you know this, when you go into overtime in soccer, it's 2 periods, basically 2 15-minute periods. So they don't want this to become one of those things like college football or really any other overtime system where you just keep going until the game ends.
Clemson's somewhat of an underdog, lowest seed to enter the championship in tournament history. Wow.
Well, it just shows how injured they were. They went through a run where they just couldn't beat anybody. They had about a 3 or 4 game losing streak, if I recall. They fell out of the top 25 and had to get back in it, and they've been rallying since about 3 weeks ago. So, I don't know if they'll win on Saturday. Syracuse is a good team, as I said. The ACC is probably. I don't mean this as like a tongue in cheek and browbeating the SEC, but it's the SEC of soccer. You have teams that North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Clemson, all those teams, Notre Dame, all those teams have at least made it to a Final Four or better, won a national title. And even NC State, you think about NC State and Boston College, whatever. NC State's really good in soccer. They have a very serious following. Boston College is good in soccer. The whole conference, from literal top to bottom, could go beat the brakes off of anybody in any other conference.
Well, I think we need to. I'm glad we gave soccer some shout out here. Tiger Sports Shop was sponsoring the show for many years. We hope to get the sponsorship back, but with us being on the radio, kind of died down on the sponsorships because we really haven't had a chance to even be on YouTube much. So I didn't really feel fair to do any sponsorships this season. But we still love the people over there at Tiger Sports Shop and shop there really all the time. So, but they've got a big, strong soccer history at that business, with the founder. And we, wanted to give them a little shout out to start the show. I already see the chat is popping, Houston, with, of course, popping with YouTube discussion in football and how they did last game. Obviously, if you don't remember, Houston, Clemson did not win the last game they played in football.
I'm well aware.
So, but let's keep going through. I just want to kind of take this, chill here, and kind of go through just some top headlines like we never do. It's almost like me read the newspaper to you. Hopefully this is as boring as I think it'll be. Got some NFL news here. Hunter Renfrow headed to the injured reserve list. This was posted over on TigerNet, dealing with injury already sustained this season. I thought when I read this, I thought it was going to be something to do with a concussion again, because I feel like the young man has had to deal with concussions more often than not. And that's always worried me there, because, it can really weigh on you. Maybe not right now, but later on in your life, he could be, it could hurt long term, I'm saying. Let's see. Renfrow has been limited to 21 catches for 192 yards over 6 games this season. Had 3 catches for 26 yards in the loss to Jacksonville on Sunday. I saw a picture of Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville and Hunter Renfrow afterwards. But it says, according to NFL's Twitter feed, the Raiders are placing wide receiver Hunter Renfrow on injured reserve due to an oblique injury. So, do you think this helps or hurts Devontae Adams?
Probably he's going to get the ball more. He's going to get more touches, I'd imagine. Hunter Renfrow hasn't really had that great of a season to begin with. I have him on both my fantasy teams. And
You picked him up on your fantasy?
Yeah, well, I have him on both my fantasy teams, and I haven't started him in probably about 6 weeks.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think that was definitely a long shot there for Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a great season last year, got him a big-time contract, but I don't know how much is sustainable,
Well, I mean, I think it can be sustainable. It's just really, I mean, you think about all wide receivers in the NFL. There's a ton of guys that are kind of like Renfrow, where they have an amazing season. They get a contract, they get injured, or maybe they don't produce. Because I mean, here's the other thing too. A lot of wide receivers have to deal with learning how other teams learn how to defend them. So they didn't know how to defend Hunter Renfrow last year. He was able to run routes and do this. 31 other teams figured out or found ways to defend him. And I think he's having to learn that. That's kind of the difference between a great wide receiver and a good wide receiver, and pair that with the injury. It's not a great year, but I think he can end up being good. I don't think he'll ever be the type of person that's going to be like a DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think you and I would ever think that of him. But I think being able to get 6 or 7 targets a game, get the ball and get upfield and try to drop down on the drops that he's had this year.
It's interesting, the responses on Twitter, and I'm not a big Raiders fan, but a lot of the fans saying that the season's over. Most of the team has either given up or is on IR. Darren Waller, their star tight end, now Hunter Renfrow. A lot of fans in the same boat as you were or are, and that their fantasy team is now in shambles. So,
Renfrow is not the reason.
I hope you didn't center your fantasy team around Hunter Renfrow.
The person I did center it around, though, Jamar Chase, is also out for 4 to 6. So I've had to manage. I've been able to win a little bit. This is probably my best year.
Jamar Chase, what's he out for? I know I saw him. The guy I'm playing this week has Jamar Chase, and I'm thankful.
Yeah, I can't remember what he injured. I just know I think it was either an ankle or a knee. But that was 2 weeks ago, and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So I got to manage the stretch run of fantasy without my best wide receiver. But my teams are a little bit better than what I had last year.
Let's get in the chat. Everybody's kind of going off over here on Twitter, feeling a little bit left behind. And let's catch up and see what's going on. Here's a good one. Holiday Lights VA says, and is that Holiday Lights Virginia? Is that that's what that means? Let us know. The run game would benefit from under center plays, plus DJ gets a better pass plays off the deception. Do you think that this is a wrinkle that maybe they could add that they haven't been using? I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, did they not try it a little bit in the Iowa State game?
They've gone under center. They went under center a ton last year. When it looked as if the offense had to figure something out. You think about games like, if I remember correctly, they went under center against Wake. They went under center against South Carolina. They went under center against Iowa State. It was a wrinkle. And look, I'm always for being formationally diverse. Like, don't always just do trips left, or don't have bunchettes or doubles or 21 personnel. Don't be limiting yourself to that. I throw a bunch of formations out there, but I also know that if you're going to do under center, it needs to just be a wrinkle. I don't think that I've seen a couple of chats about, you need to go under center more. I'd argue no, that you don't need to go under center. I think, outside of the Notre Dame game, we've been able to get, or I say Clemson has been able to get push in the run game in 8 out of 9 games. And really they were able to get push in the 9th game. They just refused to run the ball for some reason. And so it's not a matter of
mind-bogglingly.
Yeah, it's not a matter of the formation or under center. It's just doing it. Run the ball. Like, it's not that hard. If you want to run it from under center, if you want to do a 2-back set, kind of stifled like Coastal Carolina does, we were doing that a couple times last year. I'm all for that. But, it's not as much the formation as it is just getting the balls to the guys and executing. That's kind of my thing on that one.
Tyson, I always push for this, is the pistol formation. Would love to see the pistol formation in the running game. Here's my thing about the different formations and all that. One of the biggest problems, and they kind of touch on it here and there, but to me, the biggest problem, or one of the biggest problems, is that DJ is just so inconsistent with running the ball himself out of the read option. I'm not saying they need to go into pistol. I'm not saying they need to go under center. I'm saying what they do right now. Houston, do you not find yourself yelling at the TV or yelling in the crowd? Do you not find yourself saying, man, I wish DJ would have kept that one? Well, I feel like I find myself saying that a few times a game. And you know what? There'll be one or two where he finally keeps it. And last year, I felt like towards the end of the year, he really started to figure out and get in his groove of when to take it. This year, I feel like more often than not, well, take away, the fumble, scoop and score, but more often than not, he just ends up giving it to the running back, and it's not really fooling anybody. Like when he does take it, let's say it's first down and he takes it and he gets, 7 yards. Mm-hmm. Well, they go right. It's like they go right back to the read option, and he's not ever going. I've never seen this guy take a read option twice. So, and defenses know that. And so what happens is he gives it to Shipley and they stop. So I feel like DJ can really help the team by just using one of his skills. I know it's not the prettiest type of running. It's not Lamar Jackson out there, but he can chunk up some plays when he actually takes it and rolls with it. And he falls forward. The dude is huge.
I mean, the thing that I think about with DJ, and I think this is both with running and passing, a lot of times he's shown that when there's a predetermined route to throw to, if the setup says, hey, there's going to be 3 guys going this way and this guy down the middle is going to be open, throw the ball here. When they started pushing tempo, that's a lot of what they were doing. Is a few of these were predetermined routes, and he started to hit those throws. It's the same with the runs. You're right. He's not really pulling it, not really doing anything like that. Just give him the choice to just run, just run the ball. And I guess the thing that drives me crazy is we do these delayed, Clemson does these delayed draws with a quarterback, and sometimes they work, right? I think doing that once or twice a game, totally fine. But it's not a great plan when they do that 3 or 4 times. That's not
do it on the 2-yard line.
Yeah, I agree. It's just not well placed. It's not well placed.
That'll fool
them. Taj Boyd, you didn't really do that a ton with Taj. What you did is you just snapped it and you said roll out and go. And I know that Taj is a little bit faster than what DJ was, but let him battering ram it for 3 to 4 yards and get you in a more manageable position if you're going to use him. That way, at least gives them, or if you want to create a formation where it's give off the sense of a zone read, but let it just be DJ's play. There's ways that you can scheme around this. They did that with Kelly Bryant in 2017. They can do that now. I just have my own thoughts about how they've done the game plan this year. They've not really done it, but at the same time, I hate to say it, the plays that have come out the best are when, and I know he doesn't want to do this, and I don't think it's a great thing for long term, is when Dabo's involved with the play calling. You can tell he was not.
Oh
Look,
man, the fan base.
Look,
Gonna get on you for that.
I don't care what they say. Okay. Look at the end of the game is when he pulled out his play sheet. What happened?
I actually, and I don't want you to feel like I'm disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
I don't, but I know how the fan base is. Let us know in the chat. Is there a way I can do like a poll or, let's see, engage your audience. Start a poll. Here we go. I'm about to do a poll. All right. Here we go. This is the joys of just doing it on YouTube. Should Dabo call more plays? Wait, what? No,
I'm just saying, like, I don't want him to do that more. I'm just saying.
Wait, you don't want it to do more?
No,
I thought you said he was doing good.
What I'm saying is, this year it is. I just think that that's not sustainable long term. He needs to light somebody's fire in order to do that. I don't think he, as a coach, wants to be fully integrated in the play calling 100% of the time. That's why he went and hired Chad Morris. That's why he was confident enough to hire Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott in the first place. It's just that you lost some guys that were kind of some huge framers of the game plan that, it's been lost over time. Not even necessarily like Jeff Scott. Everybody's been talking about Jeff Scott.
Hold on. This is my first ever poll.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing. Get in there. Say what you got to say. Put your results in there. There's a poll running right now. Hopefully you can see it. Should Dabo call more plays on offense? Yes or no? Get in. Let your voice be heard. And we will forward this to the Seneca Journal. And then they will forward it to IPTE. And then IPTE will put it on Dabo's desk. I guarantee you that. Get in the chat and tell us what you think. Join the poll and get in there. I think the good thing is, honestly, first of all, in the radio world, losing is not necessarily a bad thing because it sparks conversation, it sparks discussion, debate, sometimes for better or worse, because, I did the losers support group on Monday, and that's a safe space. But I got to be honest with you. This is not the safe space. This is my show. You're nuts if you think you should fire everybody. And maybe you're just being, just expressing your anger. That is perfectly fine on the loser support group. I would never say this, but considering we're not in the loser support group, that is the worst thing that you could ever even want as a fan. Because the thing is, think about it. Okay, yeah, you fire everybody. Okay, now let's put you in the shoes. Okay, it's a video game, Houston. I just told you, I just said, you drew a card and it said you must fire everyone. Okay, so you don't have an option. As a head coach, Houston, what do you do then? You literally have to go find a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator, new position coaches. Let's say you don't fire the position coaches. But we all know nobody wants to promote from within because, that's just the way the fickle fan base is. But let's just say you do that to both your coordinators. Well, what are you going to do then? You're going to go find two that are just great. They're just waiting, that actually haven't been coaching already in the wings. Like with 9 games into the season, it's going to be detrimental.
No. Here's the thing. One, if there is going to be any change at all, it's not going to happen until after the ACC title game. So just go ahead.
I'm not talking about like actual scenario. I'm talking about this terrible scenario.
Yeah, well,
because I think if they're, if you look at the entire, facet of it, which my YouTube is circling, I don't know what's going on, but if you look at the entire picture, the big picture, whatever decision you make, even if you think you're making it for this year, you're really making it for next year and the year after that and the recruiting class after that. In decisions today impact, for years to come. So you got to be careful with this whole get rid of everybody attitude. I understand it's like an expression of anger, but it's not realistic. Even if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When you're talking about staff, see, I'll just go with my piece on this, right? Of what should and shouldn't, could and could, all that kind of stuff like that. You're not going to see any changes at all, if any, until after the ACC title game. So if anybody's just yelling for somebody to be fired, they're just yelling into the ether at this point.
Right. I think they're just doing that catharsis or whatever.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I think there are a handful of coaches. They're not bad coaches. They're not people that I would yell at to fire. And I'll trust Dabo's judgment because he's made it here. But I do think he sees some stuff going on. He's not blind. I've written about it a couple times now. It's like he's not blind. He knows something's up. He knows this is not the same system, and he knows that this is not sustainable. You can read it. He sees it. He's not unknowledgeable. And I think there's a handful of coaches that have gotten comfortable, not in a negative way. They like their job. They're going to do their job. And I think there's a couple of guys that need to just be gently nudged into expanding their career options upward. Let's just say a smaller time job comes open at Liberty. I think that would be a great fit for somebody, or Coastal. Or if a coordinator job pops open somewhere for someone to get experience, it's possible to do that, and also possible to keep your class together if that's the reason why you're doing this. What I will say, the other thing about this is there's two sides of the coin here as far as coordinators go. I see about youthful and internal and Dabo picking up his buddies. I'll start with the defense on this is I would leave the defensive kind of issues out. Like I wouldn't go crazy just yet on Wes Goodwin or anything. I think Wes Goodwin's a good coach. I think that he gets a bad rep because of the Wake Forest game already. And I think that it compounded when that defense gave up 263 yards the other night. But here's a couple of things. You're going to give up 263 yards when you have a cathartic offense that hands the other team 21 points. That's what's going to happen. You're going to give up that. When Notre Dame saw that, hey, we can block punts and get pick sixes, why are we going to throw the ball? And they have an amazing offensive line, and they have two amazing tight ends, and they have three running backs that are the size of defensive ends. They're going to just lean on that. And eventually it just came through. You can't fault the defense. You have, they only gave up 14 points on two sustained drives. I'm not going to give Cade's pick on the defense because that's essentially a pick six. So I'd say lay off the defense. I think what would be wise if this were to come to fruition is if there was a coach that were to pursue other opportunities as a DC or a head coach or something like that at a smaller school, go get Wes some help. And that's not to say Wes is this terrible person. He's a young coordinator. He's a first-time coordinator, and he drew the small lot of being Brent Venables' understudy, after study, whatever you want to call it. He drew that lot, and he's got a huge shadow that he's under right now. So I'd get him some help just so he has a sage person to go to, and there's someone that can help him with the game plans. I don't think it's on Wes. I think he's done a great job. It just is a bad game. And I also want to point out this. Everybody acts like that never happened under Brent Venables, that Clemson would never give up 260-plus yards. It happened 3 times.
Ooh.
Happened 3 times. And that's since 2014. I went back and looked it up. Actually, it was more than that. If you remember, Georgia ran for a whopping 328 yards in 2014 against the team that finishes the number 1 rush defense in the country that year. 328 yards. Get that through your heads, everybody. Get that we gave up almost 250 yards on the ground to Syracuse in 2015. 2015. You gave up 200 yards on the ground plus to South Carolina that year as well. You gave up 264 yards to Ohio State in the ground in that Sugar Bowl loss. Okay, so let's not act like everybody's above reprieve and all this stuff. Yeah, there's some change and there was some regression. You were going to get that. But it's not all on Wes Goodwin here. I think he's doing a good job. I think he needs a little help if you do end up doing that on the defensive side of the ball. Now, with offense, it's a different story. we're several iterations down from Chad Morris. It's not his offense anymore. This is not that. You went from Chad Morris to two guys who were under his tutelage, to one guy that was under his tutelage, to one guy that wasn't under his tutelage. Brendan Streeter was not under Chad Morris. He was under Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott, and he was an OC at Richmond and all that. You brought all that in there. Well, I understand wanting to give him the shot. You thought last year might have been a one-off. You thought DJ could improve, and for most of the year he was. But it comes a point where you really got to wonder what's going to happen in the offseason. And it may not be something that somebody's fired. It may be that somebody goes and pursues another job, and that opens up. And I think in that case, the easy way to do this, if Streeter is still on staff, is go find somebody that's got experience as an OC in a different scheme. Because this offense needs an overhaul as far as schematically. I mean, it just needs an overhaul. It needs a refresher. There's guys out there that could come in and just make things churn. Because I think people get lost in the fact that I saw somebody today, and I have to laugh at people that are like, well, we'll just never be there again, and the ACC is so bad. And I'm like, look, Chad Morris inherited a roster that had a third of the talent that's on this roster now offensively. You got one 5-star receiver in Sammy Watkins, and the rest weren't. You had a couple of 4-stars. Taj was a 4-star. Andre Ellington was a 4-star. But that offensive line wasn't. None of them were. You didn't have a 4-star tight end. Dwayne Allen wasn't a 4-star. You had a lot of talent, and they were able to make that scheme work. Well, imagine if you got somebody who was able to do that with the amount of talent Clemson has. Okay? And there's people out there that could do it. You don't have to go out and fire everybody, but it does need a little bit of a refresher this year. I don't want to throw names out there, but I feel like people undervalue Clemson. If he looks for a coordinator in any sort, either assistant coordinator, co-coordinator, or an actual coordinator, it's a sought-after job if he goes external. And I don't think people realize that he could get, outside of a handful of power teams in the SEC and Ohio State and Oregon and Oklahoma, he could go to pretty much any school he wanted to and get who he wants.
I mean, I do feel like that, I don't think any changes are going to be made. I think that you're 8-1. You have not lost any of your goals, which they are a little bit open-ended, which is the right way to do it. I mean, you can kind of angle it a little bit. I would like to see Brandon Streeter with someone other than DJ as his star quarterback, and see what he can do. Now, if he proves to me to be wrong, or still not able to do what he can do, and get this offense to what I would say is playoff level. This offense is definitely a 10-win type. This team in general is a 10-win type team. And they can squeak them out here and there. They can win games, in multiple ways. And he showed for the beginning of the season that he could keep DJ from making mistakes. He could keep DJ from being his own worst enemy. Now that's starting to go away. Turnovers are starting to hurt. He's starting to become less confident. And we heard this last year, that once DJ lost his confidence, he never got it back. That was what they were saying. That's what Kyle Richardson said when we interviewed him when he first came into the job. The media got around him, said, "What do you think? Your thoughts?" And he said, well, he lost his confidence and he never gained it back. It was like a snowball that never kept rolling downhill, right? It just kept getting worse, right? That's what I worry about here, is that you've gotten to a point where you've built up and you did a good job. You threw a lot behind the line of scrimmage. You got his completion percentage up, and nationally got him above 100th or worst in the nation in a lot of statistics. I mean, he was, 50th or better in a lot of the key statistics. And so he was very confident in those things. And then you built that up one game after the other. You had some of your, what Mickey calls your preseason games that were easier. And then as it started getting harder, and now Richardson is saying, you know what? We've added the there's film on DJ now, and so what's happening is they're figuring him out. And I mentioned this to you in the past, like it seems like Florida State, it seems like Syracuse understood, or not Florida State, but Syracuse started to really understand. Take Bo Collins out of the way. Florida State said, let's take Bo Collins out of it. And now they're starting to say, we got to really lock down the right-hand side, because that's where DJ leans to more often than not when he needs a bailout. Well, then then Notre Dame picks up on that and, gets a pick six on the right-hand side. And I feel like, and then after the game, you get Richardson who says, yeah, you know what, defenses, he's losing his confidence. He's playing a little timid, and defenses have figured out what we want to do with him. So to your point, Houston, I think there needs to be some sort of refresher adjustment. Hope maybe this staff can do it. I don't know if this staff can do it with the personnel, because it would be 9 games. Now this is the 10th game. It'd be very hard to say. I mean, I guess that's what they really have to do. They have to say, what can we keep? Or what do we need to make? Maybe because how like you're in school, Houston, and you start a semester, and the first month is like figuring out the subject. The second month is getting harder, and then the third month you're doing the group projects, you're doing the difficult things, you're getting your final grades, and you're moving on, right? I feel like we're at that championship stage where they're wanting it to be at that level of confidence and execution, and unfortunately, we're seeing month one confidence and execution. We're seeing the senior wide receiver and DJ not even on the same page in that pick six scenario. That's what bothers me. We're supposed to be to a certain point, and it seems like we need to go backwards now. We need to say, well, wait a minute, maybe we're not there yet, or the defenses have figured it out, and what are we going to do going forward?
That's what I'm saying as far as changes for in the offseason. I had three points to make here. You could have seen Dabo in the same exact scenario say, well, I want to see Kyle Parker under a new coordinator because I feel like he could be the guy. No, he didn't. He made the change. The other thing is, I have the same feeling about Cade as I did when I first saw Taj in 2010. They didn't put Taj in great scenarios to succeed. The best he played was in mop-up time against South Florida in the Meineke Car Care Bowl, when, once again, Dabo and Taj were drawing up plays on the sideline. That's how they scored the last 2 touchdowns in that game. I know that firsthand from talking to people firsthand about it. So you had stuff like that happen. So you have those 2 scenarios. I also want to point out with Cade, it's like, look, we can talk about personnel, but I wrote about this earlier in Rubbing the Rock. They don't seem to have a plan for Cade. They had a scripted drive. I'm of the full agreement that they scripted Cade's first drive. That's what they did. He was at ease. He knew where he was going to go. Boom, boom, boom. Knew his looks, everything. It was good. And then from that point on, it's looked like they've just thrown him in there with no real plan. And I don't understand kind of what they know in practice what he can and can't do right now. And that's not to say Cade can't be amazing. I think he can. But I think that speaks to what needs to be done in the offseason is you need a refresher, right? You need somebody who comes in there, knows that, hey, I've got a kid who likes to sling it, and he can also run. I've got 2 to 3 amazing running backs. I've got some really talented wide receivers that need to be cleaned up a little bit because you got 2 alpha dog freshmen. You got Bo Collins, who I think if you start targeting those freshmen more, will start to blossom. Because right now, Bo is not meant to be in this office necessarily the number one guy, but that's DJ's guy. DJ knows Bo. He's going to look for Bo. And now we're at the point where he locks in on Bo. I mean, part of the reason why
it's gone away now because, he's basically disappeared.
Well, I mean, another reason why it was frustrating, 4th and 4 when you have it in plus territory on Notre Dame? Why in the world would you run a route with Bo going 20 yards downfield? Get Bo in space where he can catch the ball and get it field. Do it with Ngata, do it with whoever. All right, or predetermine that to get that ball for 4 yards. If you're worried about your quarterback's confidence, okay, don't be doing this garbage of running 16 yards upfield with this route. Somebody's got to be open within 5 yards, right? You could have gotten that, and that was what was the most frustrating.
I'd like to get your take on the pick six, if you don't mind. Let me pull up the screenshot here. Yeah, because I feel like, let me see if I can show it on screen here. I don't know if I can. There we go. So I don't think I can play it without getting dinged. But you see here, like, I mean, this is the play. You've got basically the tight end going out here. Both Joe and Ngata fighting one-on-one here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is Antonio Williams over here.
The first thing that I want to point out, and this is another reason why there needs to be a thought process in changing this, is you have 1, 2, 3 routes going all outside. There is nothing to do anything about that safety up top and that linebacker in the middle right there when you could have something to drag them out. You could be using your tight end to drag that and then putting somebody, bam, right in the middle right there to get that ball. But they've gotten a little bit lax, right? I think I know what you're referring to as far as
why. I mean, this is I can see where people get frustrated with my charts or not with my charts, but just what the results of the charts are. Because, I mean, look at this. You've got I don't know how many yards in between the hash, but I know this is 55 yards. I think it's 40. No. What is it? 25 yards here in between the two.
You basically
you've got 25 yards here, and then you've got I think 13 or 14 here or something like that. I mean, it's a lot of, you have 53, right? 53 and a half or 53 and a third from across the field. So there's a lot of space here, and you're zoning in here and here. And people say, well, Morgan, I'd love to know from your charts if he's looking at his first or second read. Well, this is his first read. You know what I mean? I mean, this could be his second read, but to me, this is making it simple. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking really in the same direction for both. And I think that's a good tactic, but it's also, to me, like, look how covered it is. I mean, so here's the thing. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'll take it down, and then what I want to do so that YouTube hopefully doesn't kick us off is, because I don't want to play this. You know what I mean? What I will do is take it down and then move it forward, or maybe I'll just click it forward. But the idea here is, Dabo said it's a back shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's already cocked back here. Okay. He's already made the decision, and they're basically covered. This guy's covered. If you, at the angle you throw it at, that tight end, I'm assuming Davis Allen, is going to get picked off. So you're not going to throw it there. Now, DJ is going to throw a quote unquote back shoulder, right? But I don't understand because he ends up throwing it at the 5-yard line. So this is a back shoulder, like 10 yards from where he is right now, and he's loading up. I don't know. It's weird to me. So let me forward it a little bit. Actually, let me show you the formation, right? So we'll go. Here's the formation, right? Obviously, Shipley stays, I believe.
So you're in max
protection.
You're in max protect. So you already don't have a
pass. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in protection, and that's Brenningstool, by the way. That's number 9.
Well,
So,
I mean,
and
part of the problem.
Ngata's here. So you're looking here, DJ. Okay, this is another thing that fans say. DJ never looks in. He stares at a guy. I mean, this is a textbook staring at a guy. Look at the DB. The
Mhm.
DB is fighting Ngata, but he's staring also at DJ in this situation here. So he's already kind of picking it up, right?
I
Now
mean,
here they're engaged, and as you mentioned, nobody in the middle. I mean, it's
mhm.
completely empty. Uh, and the thing is, like, if you're running two routes this far to this side, basically these routes on the left side are meaningless, right?
I mean, for what is look, the way that I would say it is, and I know this play because I've watched it a couple times too. Was it a perfect throw? Absolutely not. It was not a good throw, but I will say that there is a lot of issues with the wide receiver on this play. Part one is he's not getting any separation, and you're a senior. Like, and God is a senior, he can't get separation of freshman DB. Okay. And secondly, it did look like there was a route mix up there. Like it's almost like he wasn't looking for the ball. It was like he was looking for it over his shoulder versus back shoulder. And that's why it ended up getting shorted and picked off and ran back. I think that there are a couple of guys in the wide receiving core that I don't know what's going on. I'm just surprised that there hasn't been a settlement to put more emphasis to get people like Williams and Randall.
I'm trying to find a better. I'm gonna try to find a better
Yeah,
screen
but
of that. It's kind of blurry, but
what essentially it is like I said, kind of predetermining that DJ is going to throw it. Look, I would create more formations with guys out there that are younger to force him to throw the ball to other people. Because you got people like Brennan Stool Davis, Antonio Williams, Randall, even guys that you put out there like Spector or Will Taylor or whatever, they can do it. But it's so clunky. These formations that they're doing, you try to do tempo, you can't because you're not hitting certain simple throws. But also on these complex back shoulder throws, you have some receivers that you trot out there in the formation that aren't on the same page, which look, if you're a freshman, I get that. If Antonio Williams breaks off a route, I get it. This is his first year. But if you're Joseph Ngata and you're in year 4, you're still breaking off routes and doing stuff like that, you gotta do something about that,
it's
man.
still weird to me that it's a back shoulder, but 9 yards from here, and he's about to let go. You know what I mean? Like, he throws it over here. The interception. This defensive back catches the ball right on the 5-yard line, on the sideline. So right around where my mouse is where he catches it, which is about 9 yards from where they are right now. I don't know. To me, a back shoulder to me would it not have been over here somewhere where he's at, and not way out here where he's
I
not?
I
And
just
he's having to go 9 yards. So this ball's going to be in the air. I guess what he wants to do is go there and stop and jump and get it, right? Maybe.
mhm.
But
That's
Ngata just keeps going.
yeah.
But if you look at it, okay, now read this. If you're Ngata, why would you do the back shoulder when there's no safety help over here? None.
But that's
There's
not a
no.
choice route. That's the thing, though. It's not a choice route. Like one of the things
So
that
if it's not a choice, so some people said it was an option. I think Dabo did say it wasn't an option.
no, it's not.
So in that
Back
case,
shoulders are not generally not option routes. Okay.
so Edward gets in and says he got over the top of him. But if you look at this situation, I mean, when the interception happens, he got us behind him. So I don't know if he's over top of him. There's definitely no safety over top of him. This
No.
just, to me, this is like, well, I just don't understand. Maybe he's just trying to make a point, but to me, and I got kind of, somebody called me out on Twitter about it, but he's like, you're just doubting the coach, and the coach knows way more than you. I get it. Dabo Swinney knows way more than me. It just doesn't make any sense to me that you would come out publicly and say it's Joe Ngata's not doing it right. I don't think it was a good play.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you on that. Like, it's not a good play at all. I think, there's been an over reliance since the departure of T. Higgins, and I want to say that like they were able to make things do with Amari and Cornell playing out of their minds in 2020, but it's T. Higgins is a rare breed, right? You need to go with what you have on your staff or on your current team, and I think the bodies that you have in Antonio Williams, it's fine if you do stuff like that occasionally with Bo Collins, but when it's going to be you're locked in on Bo,
yeah,
it takes a lot away. I don't know. I don't want to be harsh on that, but I feel like the route trees that are drawn up in these are very clunky. That's what I'm saying. It's like it needs to be something that there has to be a change in the offseason, a refresher, an overhaul with the scheme, because that's been the issue. Now, you're not going to get that for the next 3, 4, 5 games or whatever. And here's the crazy part. Everybody's down on Clemson right now and saying, well, they can win X, Y, Z amount of games. They can win 13 games, even with this laissez-faire malaise in this offense. They can still win 13 games. Remember, Morgan, you made fun of me in saying that they could win 10 games last year. They won 10 games. And I can say that this team can win 13 now. They have to execute and play better. And I saw Beef in the comments saying, hey, Louisville could really smash Clemson if they don't come out prepared. At the same token, if Clemson comes out prepared, they may not beat them 58-0, but they can still smash and dash their way to the win and end up winning the rest of the season. So they can win games with this, especially what they have left on the schedule. But that doesn't need to be a justification to just keep doing that.
I'm trying to find the video again because now I've lost it. But where did it go? Oh, here it is. Yeah, Quacking Tiger has tweeted me now, and he's saying Dabo was 100% right. I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong. I mean, obviously he knows the play way better than me. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you got nobody over top, and you got nobody running across the middle. You can say Joe and Goddard should have done this or that. It is, to me, it was all around not a good play. I don't like it at all. I hate the play.
Which is fine.
I hate it enough to where I feel like it's a little, to me, it's bogus to say, well, Joe Incata was the problem. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't think they're calling it the problem. The coaching staff is, and I think that's just something that the fans want to latch onto. Whatever. It is what it is. Like I said, it's just going to be, you got what you got to the end of the season. I don't think Dabo is just sitting there being like, well, I'm going to dig in and make everybody suffer. No, he's getting paid a lot of money to win. And I also think that if you actually give him a full off season to put his brain to it and get who he wants to get, you'll be surprised in a good way.
I have to comment to me. I have to comment to them. Here we go. So let's take a look at some more things out there. McFadden says that bringing physicality is key to bouncing back this weekend against Louisville. He said that he'd be lying if they didn't want to make the playoffs, but right now they just need to focus on getting back on track. He said, we're definitely disappointed in the outcome, not what they were prepared for, not what they worked all season for, definitely not the outcome they wanted. So we're definitely disappointed, but there's nothing we can go back and do now and change it. So we have to get better from here and watch the tape and see what we can fix and get better and improve and keep improving. Louisville definitely has good players. They have a good scheme. In order to beat those guys, we're going to have to play physical. We're going to have to communicate and be on the same page. I mean, those are things that, I mean, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that they're going to be more physical and play on the same page? That seemed like to be the problem at Notre Dame.
I mean, it's not Notre Dame though. Like, you can objectively say that it's, you know, Louisville can do this and Louisville can, and they can, but at the same time, they're not loaded with the talent that Notre Dame has on its line of scrimmages. Now they're talented and they're getting a lot of pressure, and they forced a lot of turnovers in the last 4 games. I put those numbers in my article that's coming out tomorrow on Rubbing the Rock. They've forced 15 turnovers in the last 4 games. They're plus 10. But some of those, you look at the Wake Forest game, kind of oddball performances. They got 8 turnovers in 1 game. That's crazy. So it is.
Yeah, I mean, was that Wake Forest? Were they just
it was just sacks and picks and all that kind of stuff. So offensively, they need to be on their.
I mean, Louisville fans said it was the best game they've ever seen in their life. A lot of Louisville fans, as far as like defensively.
Yeah, defensively, like, you got your P's and Q's. They've seen the Syracuse game and the Notre Dame game, and they're probably going to come out with a similar game plan to take Bo away, take Joe Ngano away. But I also think that you can run the ball on them. And if you commit to running the ball, things will open up more. This offense runs better when they actually commit themselves to running the ball. I think they'll be able to do that in the next 3 games.
I like that you mentioned that because, you know, we like to nitpick the passing charts and all this stuff that I do. You know, which, first of all, I think it's hilarious that people think I take it serious. I do it and post it and love to see the reaction. But, you know, there's nothing I can change about it. But so when you look at Notre Dame, not only we talked about physicality and being on the same page, but you mentioned running the ball. 12 carries to Shipley. You know, Houston, at the beginning of the season on the radio, we mentioned about how, like, Clemson will be, based on what we've seen, will be running the ball 40 times a game. And we were like debating on the percentage there. Like, Shipley's going to get 50 or 20, you know, DJ will get 8, Maffa will get, you know, 5, and Pace will get 3 or so, something like that, right? So we were debating on all that. And to walk away from a game where, you know, Shipley's getting 5.3 yards per carry and he only has 12 touches in a loss. And they really, you can't say it was because they were down. I mean, it was 14-0 going into the 4th quarter.
Mm-hmm. So I know.
That's the concern for me. You think they're just kicking themselves for ignoring the run?
I mean, probably. I think part of it is you look at just how aggressive they were. You look at even after the Clemson scored the touchdown later in the game. I believe when DJ hit Joe for the touchdown, you could see Dabo mouthing something like, "Why weren't we doing this all game?" And so they were pushing the ball downfield, and they were running the ball more, and they were going at a different pace. Tempo is kind of overused. Like, tempo's good, tempo's fine, but I think being able to know when to go and know when to slow down is better than that. And they weren't in sync as far as what the game plan was. I think that's the biggest problem of it all. You know, touches, that's a big problem. I think not pushing the ball downfield was a problem. I think this week you need to commit to the run because you got 2 great backs. You got a big quarterback. And then on top of that, if you can establish the run and run clock, that means that Malik Cunningham doesn't get as many possessions. That's the problem defensively this week. It's not 3 running backs that are all 260 pounds that are just going to lean on you the whole game. It's a guy that's very athletic, and that if you don't tackle well, he can keep going. Now, if you can bottle him up, you can force him to make turnovers. That game could get out of hand quickly. But he is very, very good.
Well, you know, Malik was bitter about at the ACC media days, the beginning of the season. He's got a big chip on his shoulder. He wants to. I mean, Louisville's never beaten Clemson since they've been in the ACC. He wants to do that, and feels like they had a chance last year that they let slip away from them.
Yeah, I mean, you can say we could have, should have, would have won last year and have the chip on your shoulder, but let's be real. Effectively, Clemson could have won that game by 20 if they did not fumbled a punt in their own red zone, right? And I believe
Which it all goes back to the way the football bounces, man.
Yeah, you fumbled in the red zone and you had a goal line stand that you didn't score on. That is a 14-point change right there. So that goes from 30 to 24 to 37 to 17. Bang. And
George Bowman says he hopes that we get a Mikhail Cunningham performance.
Yeah.
Instead of a Mikhail Cunningham instead of a Mikhail or whatever. Just difference in spelling there, Houston.
Yeah. I think ultimately, I think that Clemson can control this game and win. It is. I feel like you also might see a chance to see Cade play more often with a plan this time.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like he got a fair shake?
No, he didn't. You want to talk about a play that was worse than DJ's pick? Was the one that Cade did. That was the most mad I've ever seen, because they ran the same tight end out screen, whatever you want to call it, with DJ over and over again. Then when they put Cade in there, they already knew, hey, he's going to go to the tight end, jump it. Let's see what happens. But when they jump the tight end, you have literally nothing. They had 3 route runners on that play. One of them was going cross country. Cade was like, what am I going to do? And he had to make a play. And that's all he had. They gave him nothing to work with. Nothing to work with on that. It was a debacle. So I would imagine that they would have a plan this week in place for him to actually come in and play. Because they just had, even with the Syracuse game, they're just like, just run the ball. Just hand the ball off and run it. Syracuse ain't going to stop you. And they did. But man, like, Cade is too talented to be running this offense, man.
How do you feel if I were to say this? Cade right now gives me no confidence in that he seems to just be a scrambler right now in his phase of football, college football level right now. I feel like he's shown that he can scramble.
What do you expect more, though? Like I said, they're giving him nothing. Like, you think about the first try, or the first time he came in, he looked poised, confident, marched it right down the field. That jump was scripted. Ever since then, it's been, all right, we're going to run the same exact plays when you come in. Let's see what you can do. And they know what's coming. And so he's a freshman quarterback in a system that's stale, that they're not giving him any other options. They're not going to run him for some reason, which I don't understand. And it's just messed up. Like, I feel like when you had quarterbacks like Deshaun and Trevor and even Kelly Bryant and Taj Boyd, all options were open to make it easier for you, the quarterback, to get on the field, whether it was running the quarterback, handing the ball off, short routes, short slants, just finding the spot, get it right there. Just find an open patch of grass, get it there, get the ball there. Boom. That happened every year. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And that's not necessarily a quarterback thing. I think Clemson could have game planned last year had they known the issues with DJ, or even if they didn't. They could have had a better game plan and just didn't.
I think that Notre Dame game plan, I said this on the radio this morning, like, you look back, when I watched the South Carolina-Missouri game, they were down by 10 and got into this mode of the only ball they did past the line of scrimmage was to Austin Stogner. Everything else was behind the line of scrimmage, 4 yards behind, 5 yards behind, 6 yards behind. I mean, granted, DJ wasn't necessarily running for his life in this situation, I feel like, but Spencer Rattler was, and he was throwing all these behind the line passes. And these guys on the wide receivers, I don't think they have terrible wide receivers. and it was taking them 5 yards to get to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
4 yards to get to the and I'm like, in my mind, as I'm doing the passing chart for a team I hate, but it was just a fan request, I thought to myself, why are you're down by 10, and why are you throwing all these balls behind the line of scrimmage? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, I said to myself, I'm glad Clemson doesn't lean on the behind the line of scrimmage like that much. And then, like, slap me in the face, football gods, they come out and I tweet like, this can't be happening. There's 9 out of 13 passes have been behind the line of scrimmage, starting Notre Dame out. And I did the chart, and I'm like, they threw 1 deep ball and 2 balls behind the line of scrimmage, and the other 6 or 7 were behind the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, who really thinks that is going to work? And especially, like, I know a lot of people put on Twitter and chat, like, to me, there has to be a little bit faster understanding or pickup, like, hey, they've got this. They figured this out. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe the only thing you can do at that point is suffer through and get to halftime. Maybe that's all you can do. But what's weird to me, Houston, is fourth quarter seemed to completely change. I mean, if you look at the chart from first, second, third quarter, it was, I mean, the chart is completely different. He was only using the right-hand side and only using behind the line of scrimmage until the fourth quarter, and then he started throwing all over the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you realize that goes back to my comment earlier. Dabo doesn't want to be as involved in calling every single play, but it necessitated that at that point, and it forced him to throw the ball in different spots around the field. That's what I think Dabo would rather do. Now, does that excuse that this offense is clunky? No, it doesn't. I just it's a clunky offense right now.
When you look at, somebody got into chat about third down, I wanted to pull this up. This is something I got from Stats O War on Twitter. I like his stats. It's pretty cool. On the bottom, you'll see there's logos there. Those logos are universities, in case you were wondering, Houston.
Yeah.
Average third down distance is on the bottom. So you got 5.5 yards all the way to 9.5 yards on the right-hand side, 5.5 in the middle, or at the beginning. And then from top to bottom, you have late down success. So basically third, fourth down success, really third down success is what I think. But 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40%. Okay. So you really can't see where Clemson is, but I'll tell you, they're right here under Toledo, Oregon, LSU, Utah, right here. If you squint, that's where they're at. So that's Clemson's Tiger Paw there. So you're looking at it and you want to say, like, I think the notion is, we're just setting up for an easier third down. And really they're about right here. So you're looking at, on average, they're about third down and 7 more often than not.
Yeah, but even then, you look at it,
percentage is pretty good. They're right at 30%. It looks like
they're able to convert. Like, you look at the lower percentages on third down, though. Like, you got a handful of the teams that are in the playoffs, and then you got some teams that are just good, like Washington and
lower percentage of third down.
Or like you see, like Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, Air Force, which just runs the ball. They average.
So Ohio State, Michigan, Air Force, if you look at it, I mean, those are teams that I think have solid run games for sure, and Utah. So when you look at that, that's basic. Look at where they're starting. They're on the far left-hand side. So what that's saying is they're getting in between 5.5 and 6 yards on third down. So, they basically have the shortest amount of third down situations. Clemson is not too far behind, but, there is a 2-yard difference, 1.5, 2-yard difference there between, like, Ohio State, Michigan, Utah, Air Force, and Clemson. Georgia is right about close to 6. and they're getting 40%. So they're the highest on this list of late down conversions.
But
I don't know.
I don't know.
Interesting to bring up here.
It shows that good teams, really good teams, are able to convert on third down. And it's not that Clemson's not a good team. I think they're, like I said, they're going to finish between 12 and 13 wins. Because you also see teams like LSU and Tennessee, and also in there Oklahoma and Wisconsin and Illinois leading the Big Ten right now. Yeah. So it's all kind of the same.
Michigan's really the one that's running the ball best. I kind of love
Michigan.
Ohio State's really more passing.
Yeah, Ohio State's got it mastered with the quick passing game on 3rd and 5. But you can extrapolate this any way you want. I think this actually shows that outside of the Notre Dame game, Clemson's pretty good at converting third downs. That kind of speaks.
Yeah, they're definitely above that, whatever that median. I guess that line of, I don't know, your typical average scatter plot line, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think third down, they're doing okay. It's more or less setting themselves up on first and second down. And that's been a problem all year. Like you said, DJ doesn't really take the ball himself unless it's a predetermined run. And so how many times is it that you'll get 3 yards? You'll be like, all right, 3 yards is 2nd and 7. And then they get 1 yard on second down with the same exact play. And you're like, okay. Or they throw an incomplete pass and you're like, all right, great. It's 3rd and 7. All right, what are we going to do? They've been able to convert their lion's share this year, but it's a matter of, being able to get better on first and second down. And I think that needs to be a priority going into the offseason.
Yeah. Well, we still got a ton of people in chat, Houston, going through. Let's see. I don't know how much more time. We're over an hour now, so I don't want to keep you any longer.
Why don't we do basketball real quick?
And then... Yeah. Let's look at basketball because so let's pull up men's basketball because I know a lot of fans out there looking forward to that. By the way, they won 80-69 over the Citadel, and Chase Hunter scores 23 points. Ian Shefflin and Hunter Tyson added double doubles, and Clemson turned back the Citadel 80-69. Hunter Tyson sank 8 of 17, and he was 3 of 4 from 3-point. Hey, good shooting there. Looks like Clemson won the first half, and Citadel won the second half, winning by 11 overall. I didn't get a chance to watch the game, so I can't really say much other than just the recap there. The biggest game coming up, if you look at the next 3 games, you've got at South Carolina tomorrow, 7 p.m., and that is going to be on
SEC Plus.
ESPN Plus, SEC Plus is what it said. So you'll watch that there on your phone, I guess, or smart TV.
Yeah.
And then USC Upstate, and then Bellarmine, right? Is it how you say it? Bellarmine.
Bellarmine.
They actually just beat Louisville.
Yeah.
I
think there's no way.
Scary.
Yeah. Well, Bellarmine is a good school. Like if there's a team that can beat Clemson on the schedule, there's a few. I think they play Bellarmine. They play Drake in Atlanta. Drake is a very, very good team. So there's a couple of mid-majors that can beat them if they don't have their game on. The Citadel game the other night was kind of stereotypical. Get through the first game, get the rust off. Kind of everybody had to deal with that. I think they pulled away at the end. The one player that impressed me the most was Ian Shefflin. You see him and you're like, God, this kid, he looks kind of goofy out there. And then he's got a lot of heart, gets a lot of rebounds, scores a lot of points, gets to the line. I think in his minutes that he's getting right now in PJ Hall's stead, he's done a great job so far from what I can see. And I think coming up with South Carolina, there's a real opportunity to win down there. I think South Carolina's kind of giddy that they got that G.G. Jackson kid, and he's very good. But I think they want to feed him more so in the post. He gets a lot of rebounds and putbacks. That's at least what he did the other night. But they do have some issues defending. South Carolina does. They struggled with SC State. It was a 3-point game there at the end, and SC State was shooting a tie for the game against them. So they'll have opportunities to score. South Carolina might have a little bit of a size advantage, but I think Clemson will have the ability to score on them if they move it the right way. So, good start to the year. You always want to not lose to the Citadel, but it's kind of stereotypical for any team, getting the cobwebs out to start the season.
So matchup predictor has South Carolina 55.6%. I don't see any spread or anything. It's in Columbia. Columbia is coming off of a similar win. They beat SC State 2 nights ago, 80-77. Both scores. So both teams scored. I mean, it's really hard when you look at the stats heads up right now to know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about the basketball team. I feel like, there's always hope at the beginning of the season. We'll see how it goes. And, I mean, obviously more Clemson coverage is better for me. So I love to continue it. We do talk about basketball when football's over with, and then we'll move out. Big Al likes to talk baseball. With my investment in softball, I like softball. I'll tell you this. So Bill was in the chat, and he said, I'd like to have a better excuse. So here's my excuse for Saturday. Houston, are you going to the game Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
So I got offered by 2 people tickets, lower deck tickets too, by the way. I turned them down. Did I want to turn them down? No. But my daughter has a softball team, and they got this girl has a birthday party, and all the softball girls are going to be there. And mom and mother-in-law are out on a shopping weekend. Okay. So I'm daddy daycare this weekend. And so Annabeth's not she's being a 7. She's not super interested in sitting in a game the entire time. But the birthday party is from 12 to 2. And being at 3:30, I just didn't see it. So I will, take my licks, go to the birthday party, enjoy that. I will enjoy it. And then I'll do what I normally do, which I did most of the time, is watch it on TV. But I might, I even thought about maybe calling the game, kind of like a military, appreciation type YouTube game call. But then, do I really? I don't know. I might do that, Houston. You know how I like to call some of the games sometimes?
You do. You can do that. I'm the type of person that I'm either going to be there or I'm going to sequester myself by myself and watch the game. I'm not a good person to try to conversate with while Clemson football is on.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I made a joke about how serious I get, and I used to be way more serious about it back in the day. But I found myself sitting back and just experiencing the game more this year than I did the past 2 or 3 years, where I was standing the entire time in front of the TV, frustrated at everything or analyzing everything within inches and, pretending like I'm there screaming at the TV, jumping up and down for third down and stuff like that. I mean, if it gets a critical third down, though, I'm definitely going to stand up and scream at the TV and make the dog scared.
It's all about post game for me. I'm fully invested in the game. I'm fully immersed in it. I'm not going to tweet, post, write anything for 2 days. I got to give myself 2 days to process and come down from it, and that's generally best for me because then it can be kind of sensible with everything. Everybody's doom and gloom right now. It's like, hey, look, there's no reason to be doom and gloom. There's not. No reason to be doom and gloom.
Well, I appreciate everybody getting in. Man, we had a long show, and it was good stuff, just topical stuff. But I hope that you enjoyed it tonight. Houston, thanks for being a part of the show. We're going to continue this, I think, for the next 6 weeks, man. Hopefully Big Al will be back, and maybe we can, Big Al doesn't like to do these like off the cuff topics. He likes to actually have a game plan. So maybe we'll have to go back to like actually talking about stuff, which I feel like you got a lot of stuff talked about. So
hey, we got enough in tonight. I feel pretty good.
Well, I hope everybody has a good rest of the night, and cheers on the Tigers. If you're traveling to the game, stay safe and drive safe, and enjoy the game and the military appreciation festivities. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.